I all of a sudden was on my own. I didn't have to answer to anybody, and I was making more money than when I was actually working for the company. The best thing that happened to me, it's that moment, that aha moment where you reflect back again. So I had moved to Atlanta. I became the outside sales rep. I was number one. The problem was my little boss, Gil Malone, was bringing over girls from the office and sleeping with them. And so I found that out. And because it was a family business, he was afraid I was going to tell my family. So he came up with this excuse to fire me, and he did. And he took my keys, and he took, literally brought me in the office in Atlanta. I'd been there for about 9-10 months, fired me because he was afraid of what I would say to my family. And I'm like, sure, dude, here's my keys. It's going to be all of about, an hour for me to get home before somebody's calling me, my mom or my stepdad or brother or something. And so I was like, all right, if that's what you want to do. So I walked out of there, and I was walking home, and I had a company credit card that I owed $2,500 on. And he said he was holding all my checks. So I went into the bank, and I finagled the bank to give me a 12-month loan to pay off my credit card. And I walked to my apartment, and I waited for 3 days, and no phone call rang. And so I got determined. I was like, I'm not calling my family if they're not calling me. They have to know about this. I just assumed they knew about it. Well, a week went by, and so I'd go down in the evenings with this guy that I used to hang out with, who is an undercover cop, and we hustled pool. So that's just for fun, $5 games, 6-ball, 9-ball, or 8-ball runs, stuff like that. But we started playing for more because I needed money. So we started playing $20 rack games, and we were winning a lot. And so all of a sudden, I didn't want the phone call anymore. Because one of my other buddies had me selling ad space, going up and down the street selling ad space for companies to promote their business on the back of their cards for the universities and the multifamilies, and we'd go drop these plastic cards off, and we'd keep the cash. I all of a sudden was on my own. I didn't have to answer to anybody, and I was making more money than when I was actually working for the company. And I could play pool, I could screw around, I could choose when I wanted to get up, I could choose what I wanted to do. And that went on literally for 9 months, because I finally got a phone call about a month into it, and I explained what happened. That launched an investigation. They ended up firing my old boss and getting rid of him. But that process took about 6 months. And during that 6 months, I refused to go back to work. I just loved it. Now, the reason that was a really good experience for me is because fast forward, that was 1988. Fast forward to 1995, I was running North American sales. Both of my older brothers worked for me. I had created a program that year in 95 did $28 million in revenue. My parents were going through a divorce that started in 92, although I was very close to my stepdad. And so I stayed running the company, assuming it was all going to sort itself out, because when they got married, the company was a startup, and when they got divorced, it was doing $350 million in revenue. So I assumed that, I don't even need to get in the middle. One way or another, it's going to play out. Well, unfortunately, my stepdad did some things, and it was a very sad situation. And my mother did some things to make it difficult for her, so it prolonged. And it prolonged until the new girlfriend and her kids were coming in, and I could see the writing on the wall. So I had a brand new newborn. I had a 2-year-old. I had built a $500,000 home. I was making $175,000, a $35,000 base, and the rest was commission. And I'd been doing that for 3 or 4 years, so I was very successful. I walked in December 15th, 1995, and I told my stepdad, I don't want to get stuck between you and mom. I don't want to get stuck between you and your new lady. I'm packing everything up. I'm selling everything. I'm moving to Oregon with my brand new newborn, my kids, and I'm going to start a business. And he tried to convince me to stay, but I left. I quit that night. I had watched other people say they're going to quit, and then him talking back, and then then he treated them like shit, and they acted like little bitches because they lost all their confidence. I made a commitment. If I ever quit, I was done. If I hadn't had that success back in Atlanta, I don't think I would have had the courage to walk away from making $175,000 with a brand new baby. So it's that thing where you look back and you're like, that's why I had the courage.